friends, so to kick off today's budget friendly tutorial, I'm taking the Essence Make Me Brow Eyebrow Powder and I'm filling in the brows. This product is unlike any brow product I've tried before. I figured being that it was a powder, it was going to leave fallout everywhere, but it doesn't. And I'm just using short feathered strokes just to tint the brows because my hairs are naturally quite light, as you can see. I like to define along the base of my brows, so to do that, I'm using my trusty Wet n Wild brow kit. I've been using this for years, it's the best brow kit on the market in my opinion, and I'm just using an angled brush to line under the brow. Then, to make sure that the edge is nice and clean and crisp, I'm going in with a concealer on a small detail brush and I'm sweeping it along underneath the brow. If you've made any mistakes with the shape or anything, you can tidy it up with the concealer at this point. But then that's it for the brows, so a huge difference. Now I'm going to move on to my base, so to prime my skin today I'm using the Essence You Better Work Gym Proof Primer. You don't have to use this primer solely for the gym, we're coming into the summer months now, and if you're oily this will do a good job at keeping those oils at bay. As you can see, colour wise my face doesn't match the rest of my body. I've tan on and I don't like to tan my face, I prefer to match it up with foundation. To get the right colour to suit me, I've just mixed two of the Wet n Wild Photofocus foundations. I thoroughly enjoy this foundation, I mentioned it in my top 5 favourite drugstore foundations that I uploaded last year. It gives a medium coverage, you can't really build up to a full coverage but that's okay. Gives a medium coverage all over and then I can go in and build up to a full coverage in the areas that I need to with my concealer. I apply my foundation in a few light layers, so now that I've built up to the intensity and the coverage that I want, I'm going in with my concealer. This one is by Note Cosmetics and the formula is really nice, it lasts very well throughout the day and it doesn't cake up or anything of the sort and it's only a £5. I've just added a small amount under the eyes and now I'm blending it out with a pointed foundation brush. Now that I'm finished with my liquid products, I'm going to set them in place with some face powder just to make sure that they don't budge throughout the day. A holy grail face powder of mine is the Rimmel Stay Matte powder. I use the transparent one mainly, but they do have ones with a bit of a tint to them too, and they provide a bit of extra coverage, but this one is fine for what I want today. To add some more colour to the face, I'm taking the Penneys Bronze Me Up Highlight and Contour Kit, and the first shade I'm taking is the deep brown on the right. I'm taking this on an angled brush first and I'm applying a very small amount to the face to begin with because it's quite dark and I don't want to go overboard. Once I've blended that out along the cheeks, I'm sweeping it up into the hairline and down along the jawline, and then I'm taking a tiny bit more product on a small dome shaped brush and I'm going back in and chiseling out the cheeks. Then I'm going in with that light powder on the left of the kit just to clean up and sharpen that contour. I like mine to be quite defined, but if you don't, you can skip this step. For blush, I'm taking Pomegranate by Sleek Makeup. To some people this can look very scary in the pan, but you can get a nice light flush to the cheeks with the product if you use a light hand, or you can get an intense colour payoff if you go in a bit heavier handed or layer the product. Tailor it to suit yourself. I'll be applying a red lip colour later on, so I don't want to go too overboard. To highlight the skin, I'm going in with this one from Essence, and I know a moment ago I said I didn't want to go overboard, but this highlighter is really pretty on the skin. I just swirled my brush around in the colours and as you can see it doesn't leave you with crazy green or purple streaks on your face. It's actually quite flattering. Moving on to the eyes now, to kick things off I'm taking the I Heart Stage eyeshadow base from Essence. This is tinted, so not only is it going to prime the eye area for the shadows that are to come, but it's going to conceal any discoloration, veins and all that jazz and give you a nice blank canvas to start out on. Now I'm taking one of the Wet n Wild Colour Icon palettes. I love these and I'm just taking the Beige shade and I'm sweeping it all over the entire eye area with the use of a fluffy blending brush just to set that liquid base that I applied previously in place. Next then, I'm going in with the Master Eye palette from Penneys and I'm taking that warm brown down on the bottom there, and firstly I'm taking it on a pencil brush and just sweeping from the outer corner of my eye up towards the tail of my brow to give me a point to blend my shadows in from, and then once I've got that in place I'm going back in with my fluffy blending brush and I'm just adding that colour into the crease and it's going to act as my transition shade. And I'm just adding a few light layers of this eyeshadow to build it up to the intensity that I like. Moving back to my Wet n Wild palette now, I'm going in with the definer shade, which is a deep matte brown, and I've picked up some of this shadow on a pencil brush, and I'm just starting to add some depth. I'm beginning by panning it down on the outer corner of the eye, working the shadow not only onto the lid but into the crease too. Once I've gotten all the product off my brush, then I'm switching back to my blending brush and just going over that brown to make sure that it blends in nicely with the previous shade. Next, I'm taking the crease shade in the palette. Now, I probably would never use this in the crease because of the golden sparkle in it, but for me it's going to work perfectly on the lid. It'll complement the overall lid colour that I apply in a minute, so I'm just adding this to the outer third of the eye. I'm going back in now with my Penneys Master palette and I'm picking up some of the black eyeshadow on a pencil brush, and again I'm patting this down on the outer third of the eye to add some depth. I'm just adding a tiny amount at a time and building up the intensity of that black eyeshadow, and I'm taking it across into the crease as well. Once again then I'm going back in with my fluffy blending brush and going over the area to make sure that all my shadows fade nicely into one another. Next then, I'm taking this liquid metal shadow from Catrice and I'm sweeping it onto the lid, bringing it about 2/3 of the way across. I'm really loving these liquid shadows at the moment. Essence do fantastic ones, and they give a really nice glam finish to the eyes with little effort. You don't need to set the product, it does dry down itself, but just to be extra sure, I'm adding some of that brow bone shade from the Wet n Wild palette over the top of that liquid. Now I'm going to line the eyes. This step isn't essential. You could just add mascara and or lashes at this point, but I love a wing. Usually I would line my eyes with a felt tip liner pen and go over it with liquid liner, but this note one was much more pigmented than I expected. So what I did was I lightly sketched out my shape first, and then when I was happy with that, I leaned a bit harder on the pen and went over it. I'm really impressed. Moving on to the lower lash line now, I'm repeating the process. So I'm firstly smoking that warm brown from my master palette down along the lower lash line. Then I'm pressing that dark brown definer shade along there. And then I'm going in and doing the exact same thing with the black eyeshadow. Once I have those shadows in place, I'm going in with my bullet shaped brush, running down along the lower lash line just to make sure everything is nice and diffused. To line the waterline, I'm going in with my Note Intense Look Eye Pencil, and you all know I love this liner. It's really black and it stays all day. Then I've added some of the SoSu lashes that are exclusive to Penneys, and then I'm adding some of the Lash Renegade mascara from Wet n Wild, just to blend my own lashes in with the false ones. One last thing for the eyes, I'm going back in with that brow bone shade from the Wet n Wild Colour Icon palette, and I'm adding this around the tear duct and the brow bone just to add a nice light sparkle to those areas. Then I'm moving on to the lips, so I'm going to start by lining them, and to do that I'm using this red Kiko lip liner that I actually got in Amsterdam a couple of years ago, and it was just chilling in my drawer. I completely forgot about it, but it's really nice. So I use the tip of the pencil to line the lips, and then when it comes to filling them in, I lay the lip liner flat and I just use the side of the pencil just to fill in the remainder of the lips. For my lipstick, I'm using one of the sleek Matte Me lip colours in the shade Old Hollywood. It's a really beautiful shade and these lip colours last forever on the lips. But then that's it. So thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the tutorial, please let me know by giving me a thumbs up and leaving a comment, because it really helps my channel out, and I'll chat to you all soon.